What's up, everybody? Hope you're all doing well. I'm JD. This is Malta 5. Welcome. Today, playing some jank in the form of Colossus Hammer, which a few other people have been brewing around with. It's a really fun deck. Like Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive from MTG Goldfish, actually took it to a 5-0 on his channel, which is pretty ridiculous. Although I do have to say, most people who have been brewing with this, they're calling it the Hammer Time combo. I'm less an MC Hammer fan and more of a Meshuggah fan, so I'm calling mine I Am Colossus. If you know, you know. If you don't know, go listen to Meshuggah. Anyway, let's talk about the deck. So there are 3 parts. It's a combo deck. There's the hammer itself. There's ways to cheat the hammer onto a creature, and there's, of course, the creatures to cheat it onto. So we'll start with the hammer. 4 copies of the hammer. We want to find it. Consistency is key. So it's a 1-drop equipment that gives +10/+10, which is insane. However, the equip cost is 8. So there's no way we're paying that fair and square in Modern, so we have to cheat it on, which we'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, this is the key piece of the deck, is the Colossus Hammer. Now, like I mentioned, consistency is key in the combo deck. If we want to consistently get a turn 2 kill or a turn 3 kill, we need to find all our pieces. So in addition to the 4 copies of the hammer, we have 4 copies of Steel Shaper's Gift, which is a 1-mana equipment tutor. So Steel Shaper's Gift also allows for a turn 2 kill. Just a 1-mana sorcery, search your library for an equipment card, put it in your hand. Boom. So 4 copies of that. And our final tutor is Stoneforge Mystic, which was not yet unbanned when Seth and others were brewing. Like when Colossus Hammer first came out, Stoneforge wasn't unbanned yet, so I think this is a pretty good addition to the deck. It is a tutor. It's also a tutor that can carry the hammer. If you've got no other creatures, the other option before Stoneforge was Open the Vaults, which is also a 2-mana tutor, but it was just a sorcery. So Stoneforge can actually carry the hammer if necessary. It can block, it can attack, it has other uses. So Stoneforge finds the hammer. It can also, we'll do a quick aside here, Stoneforge Mystic can also just be a good card. Like, everyone's playing Stoneforge decks now, you know how it works. So we have a single copy of Batterskull it can search out. It's got a Swiftfoot Boots, so we can protect our creatures from targeted removal. It has a single Flare Husk we can search out. Again, if all our creatures have been removed and we need someone to carry the hammer, Flare Husk can be tutored. Since we have so many tutors, it can be tutored and it becomes a creature on its own. Same with Batterskull, but Flare Husk is cheap. So anyway, barring the combo, if the combo kind of fizzles... Oh, we also have Basilisk Collar, sorry. So this gives Death Touch and Lifelink. This really helps us out against the aggressive decks if we need to buy more time, gaining a bunch of life. Anyway, so those are some Stoneforge tutor targets. There's more on the sideboard. We'll get to that later. So even if our combo plan kind of falls apart, we can still just be a Stoneforge deck. I mean, we can still tutor up a Batterskull, drop that into play, and that's a fine thing to be doing. So anyway, that's kind of our backup plan. We're just a Stoneforge deck. So that's piece number 1, the hammer and ways to find the hammer. Piece number 2 is we need someone to carry the hammer, which I already mentioned. So the best targets, the ones that allow for a turn 2 kill, are the Core Duelist, because it's a 1-drop. You play this on turn 1. And then turn 2, it can attack with the hammer. When it's equipped, it has Double Strike. So it will become an 11/11 when it has the hammer on it. And assuming it's unblocked, hits the opponent for 22 with Double Strike. So that's a turn 2 instant kill. The other one is Glistener Elf. This one has Infect. So it's hitting for 11, but you only need 10 infect to kill an opponent as opposed to 20 life. So either option will work. And typically, you don't want to be mixing infect damage with regular damage, or either one or the other. But in a deck like this, either one allows for an instant kill, so that's all we really care about. They're both a turn 2 instant kill. So, yeah, Glistener Elf, Core Duelist. Those are our 2 targets. And so then the last piece of the puzzle is ways to cheat the hammer on. Because again, the equip cost is 8, so we're not paying that. That's for sure. So we have 2 different ways of doing it. Sigarda's Aid. It's an enchantment. You can cast equipment spells as though they had flash, which is nice. You can get tricky with it. Opponent might not block. Maybe they forget. They're not familiar with the card. And they think the coast is clear, they don't block, and then all of a sudden you flash in your hammer and equip at the last second. But the more important text says whenever an equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach it to target creature you control. So this gets around the equip cost. When you cast the hammer, if Sigarda's Aid is already on the battlefield, it just attaches automatically, which is pretty cool. The other way is Magnetic Theft. It's a 1 mana instant. So again, both of these allow for a turn 2 kill. Just says attach target equipment to target creature. So that's another way we can just get our hammer, cheat our hammer onto a creature. Magnetic Theft also has some other interesting, tricky uses. It says attach target equipment to target creature. It doesn't say target equipment you control. So with Stoneforge being unbanned, there's a lot of it running around. People playing a lot of good equipment. There's a lot of Batter Skulls. There's a lot of Sword of Fire and Ice in the format. So if we're not using Magnetic Theft to cheat our own hammer onto a creature, we can just steal a Batter Skull and attach it to one of our creatures. We can steal a sword. So Magnetic Theft has some other use, which is kind of fun. So those are the 3 parts of the puzzle. We're basically mulliganing aggressively to find those 3 pieces to hopefully assemble the turn 2 kill, which, if it's not clear, there's a couple different ways of going about it. It requires a turn 1 creature, because neither of them have haste, so these need to come down turn 1 so that they can attack turn 2. So either a Core Duelist or a Glistener Elf turn 1. Turn 2, either first Sigarda's Aid and then Colossus Hammer, and it'll attach, or Colossus Hammer and then Magnetic Theft. Either way, both are turn 2 possibilities. So that's the combination to get a turn 2 kill. Turn 3 kills happen when, we need to maybe search for the hammer. We have to cast the Steel Shaper's Gift, or Stoneforge Mystic to find it. If we don't have the hammer in hand, it makes it more difficult. So that's when you get the turn 3 kills, but still pretty impressive. Turn 3 in Modern. So let's talk about the support cards to the combo. There's not many. We talked about the Stoneforge targets already, the additional targets. Faith's Shield protects our creatures because neither of them have natural protection. I mean, they just die to whatever. Fatal Push, Lightning Bolt in response to like a hammer equip. They're pretty fragile. So Faith's Shield protects them. Gain protection from the color of your choice. And if the game goes long and we're down to 5 or less life, it has some additional upside with the Fateful Hour ability. So Faith's Shield is there to protect our creatures. Couple copies of Path to Exile. If we need to get blockers out of the way. Path is just great removal interaction. So we get a couple copies of that in there. And finally, Teamer Battle Rage. This takes care of the blocker issue. A lot of times the opponent will just have a blocker, and then great, we have, an 11/11 double striker, but they just throw any old thing in front of it, and they can chump block us for days. So Temur Battle Rage gives double strike and trample. Because most often, almost always, obviously if we have the hammer on it, the power is going to be greater than 4. So we're getting trample and double strike. So we can trample over any chump blockers. It's a good little combat trick to hopefully get us the win. Land base, pretty slim. We really only... we're hoping for turn 2 kills here, so we only need 2 lands. We want to hit our 3rd land drop if we don't get the turn 2 kill. But I'm just running 18 lands. I think that's a good amount. We're mostly white, but we do need to be able to hit turn 1 green, and we want to be able to get red, turn 2 red. So lots of fetch lands, lots of shock lands, just to make sure we get the correct colors that we need. Just a mix of the Naya colors here. Pretty basic. Sideboard, let's see. Fragmentize comes in to deal with artifacts and enchantments. Just kind of a versatile catch-all for various problematic artifacts and enchantments. Path to Exile, we have some additional removal. Veil of Summer is great against the control decks. Anything blue, black trying to interact with us, Veil of Summer is amazing. Counters that spell. We get hexproof from those colors, draw a card. Autumn's Veil is the less good version, the old version of Veil of Summer. But I only had 2 copies of Veil of Summer. I didn't feel like buying any more, so I just threw the Autumn's Veil in there. But this should probably just be a playset of Veil of Summer. Rest in Peace against graveyard-based decks, and then some additional Stoneforge targets. We can kind of transition post-board into more of just a Stoneforge deck and rely less on the gotcha of the combo. So Feast and Famine, Fire and Ice, and Light and Shadow, depending on what decks we're up against, what we want protection from. And that's pretty much it. So we're going to go see if we can smash some fools with a hammer, get some turn 2 kills, hopefully. I don't know if we're going to match Seth's 5-0, but we're certainly going to give it the old college try. So anyway, I'm JD. This is Malta 5. Let's go play some I Am Colossus. I'll see you in the first round.